And became the first podium finisher for Paraguay here last year. He's alongside Kushmani, who had his lap time deleted for bringing out the red flag. Roman Stanek is a winner here in Formula 3 back in 2022. He's alongside Pepe Marti, who came from 11th to a win at Bahrain. Then we have Dino Beganovic, will be on the front row tomorrow alongside Sebastian Montoya. Victor Martins missed out on that pole position by 7 thousandths of a second. Leo Fornaroli took a podium in Formula 3 here last year. Then it is Alex Dunn going very well this season. 2 podiums, a podium and a top step for Arvid Lindblad as well. 2 drivers in search of their first Formula 2 win. Can they do it? Luke Browning and Ollie Goethe, who has won here before in Formula 3. And then we come to the front row. Jack Crawford for Dams Lucas Oil, 8th in the championship. He just missed out on victory at Jeddah on the final lap from Richard Verschoor. And then we have Ritomo Miata, who hasn't been in the top 8, as Alex said, so hasn't got a point to his name. A big challenge ahead of them, and probably the biggest challenge, Alex, is going into the unknown with those soft tyres around this circuit.
Yeah, tyre degradation is an issue. It's also a really long run down to Tamburello. Over 550 metres the run down towards the first time they'll hit the brake pedal. So that gives drivers a lot of jostling to do to try to maintain position. It's a difficult racetrack to overtake on after that, so expect a feisty first 2 or 3 corners for these Formula 2 drivers.
It certainly will be a really great fight out the front. Ritomo Miata has a really tough task on his hands to hold off the likes of Jack Crawford, to hold off the likes of Goethe, Browning, Lindblad, who's been on the top step of the podium, as has Alex Dunn as well. We've got 25 laps of action coming up, and on the front of it, a driver who's in search for his first Formula 2 win, Ritomo Miata, and we caught up with him after qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, to be honest, very long time ago, my start from pole position in my career, maybe 5 years ago. So long time see pole position. So I really looking forward to fight good position, because last year I only 2 times the top 3 from start. No, only 1 time the Abu Dhabi. But anyway, you know, I can start from good position, so I will be enjoy. And let's fight to winning or podium.
Ritomo Miata, I think, knows that there's a big task on his hands. We're going to have DRS just down towards Tamburello, Alex, after the first lap's complete. That's going to be a key part of this race, staying within it or escaping it.
Single DRS zone here definitely prevents overtaking a little bit, and we've also got potential for rain in the air, 20% at the moment. Teams are going to be keeping half an eye on that, but Miata must think he has a huge opportunity here. It's one of the tougher venues to get past throughout the whole year. The main danger for him down towards turn 1, and then of course, as we always see drivers do, he'll be working on getting that critical 1 second gap to prevent drivers behind him picking up the DRS. Great opportunity as well for redemption for Jack Crawford, the American Express, looking for his first race victory of the year. And it's been a difficult start to the season for Dams. This is a great opportunity. Both he and Miney were strong. Miney, of course, losing that lap to bringing out the red flag, but they've had much more pace here in Imola than at previous races.
Dino knows his day is going to come tomorrow. He is going to be starting there on 10th though, but will still want to move forward. We've got the Toyota back driver of Ritomo Miata and Aston Martin's Jack Crawford alongside him on the front row. Prema Racing ready to watch on. Can they see the likes of Sebastian Montoya and Gabriele Mini move forward? He's starting down in P15, Montoya P9. It looks like we are set for 25 laps of racing here at Imola for round 2 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship. To the left of screen is Jack Crawford. To the right of screen, Ritomo Miata. We are go, and the race to Tamburello begins, and it looks like an even start off the front row of the grid. Jack Crawford will feel he has the opportunity to take the lead away from Miata, and that's exactly what he's done. Crawford into the lead of the race, and it looks like Lindblad is taking positions as well. The Red Bull Junior has gone into 3rd place, and then comes the Williams back driver of Browning as they make their way down towards Villeneuve for the first time.
It's Lindblad forward, it's Goethe backwards. He's really struggling. Look, there he is, being challenged by the McLaren Junior and shoveled wide by Dunn through the mid-corner of Villeneuve. We got contact further back as well.
One of the Alpines is off there, and a Red Bull Junior going with them. So out of Tosa we go. We know it's Crawford leading from Miata, then it's Lindblad, then it's Browning, then it's Martins, the two Williams back drivers, and Gabriele Mini is the driver that's in trouble. Sami Megatunov likewise, so a disaster start for the Italian.
Megatunov hasn't got off the line. He's being pushed back into the pit lane as we speak, and as the field make their way through Acqua Minerale, but it is Crawford who's made his way to the lead. There's Megatunov trundling to the end of the pit lane after a disastrous start, having to have the car fired back up.
Winner here in Formula 3 last year, and a disaster start for Sami Megatunov. All he can hope for is a safety car in this race now, as moves being made further back. Pepe Marti on a bit of a recovery job. He was the Red Bull Junior, I think, in a little bit of trouble there, and he's now trying to recover in this race.
Yeah, making contact through the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, trying to pick out Richard Verschoor, who's made his way up to at least 15th place at the beginning of this one, and still trying to make his way forward as they scream across the line the first time. It is going to be Lindblad, who's under pressure from Browning down towards Tamburello.
Browning having a think about a move down the inside of his countryman Arvid Lindblad. Out of Tamburello we go, and now down towards Villeneuve. This is a great fight. Crawford trying to break DRS. It is enabled now. Next time they head down to Tamburello, we will have DRS enabled, and you have to be within a second to use it.
Championship leader in his MP, 16th it is that Verschoor managed to climb his way up to from 19th on the grid. A disastrous qualifying session, stopped early as a result of the red flag. Browning still having a look down the outside of Piratella. It'll be a brave move there.
Round the outside he goes, but Lindblad just hustling him to the outside of the circuit, and this has opened an opportunity for Victor Martins as they head down to Acqua Minerale. All of this allowing the top two to escape though.
Two junior Williams drivers, line astern. I see the difficulty though with regards to overtaking. There's just not enough width of track down into Acqua Minerale. Both clamber all over the curbs in the mid-corner, and it looks like Luke Browning's safe for now.
Down towards Rivazza we go, and here we can see Browning now under pressure. He was once the one attacking Lindblad. He's now going to have to be aware as DRS comes open here down to Tamburello that he's got Victor Martins just behind. Then it is Alex Dunn, Leo Fornaroli next. Last of the point scorers at this stage would be Joshua Dirksen as they fire past the pit wall.
0.956 the gap between Miata and Crawford at the front. So Crawford's not been able to escape the DRS in the early stage of this race. Miata clinging with his ART to the rear of the American and keeping himself in the action here, looking over the rear wing of Lindblad. This is the battle we've seen. Browning behind, and the Williams Junior liveried machine of Victor Martins, who thought he could be on pole yesterday. If it wasn't for the red flag, he really believed that he had the qualifying performance and will be looking to move forward into the top three positions today. Looking back at the race start then, it was a relatively even start out front. There the stall from Sami Megatunov, causing him to be pushed back behind the barrier, returning to the front of the field. Bit of wheel spin for Miata. There it is, a shimmy of the tail, and that's what would cost him on his way down to Tamburello. Crawford comes to the inside and just claims the road on his way in. Lindblad's the driver, making his way around the outside of Luke Browning there in a fantastic start from 5th on the grid, and then a little bit further down we saw contact. Here's Alex Dunn, McLaren Junior driver, blocked path a little bit on his way in. He's going around the outside of Goethe there, who makes contact, look, a little bit with the rear of Victor Martins' car.
And this was then the run into Villeneuve, and this is where we saw Pepe Marti getting into a little bit of trouble on the exit, the second of the Red Bull Juniors.
Yeah, they're going to be side by side. There's Dunn and Ollie Goethe getting together. So you are on board with Gabriele Mini.
Ah, there we go.
And the car that we just heard the radio from is to our left-hand side and slightly behind. So Pepe Marti feeling like he's been run out of road there on the outside of the Villeneuve chicane.
And that means the top two in the championship are 16th and 17th. Championship leader ahead of second in the championship. Not what we expected, but that is the unpredictability of Formula 2. And there they are in shot. Orange MP leading Red Bull Junior.
Dodging a safety car, though, from all of those little incidents in the early stages of the race. Miata just now falling outside DRS of Crawford, which would put him in contention for the DRS of Lindblad and potentially vulnerable to Lindblad. But this now going to be a race of who can manage the tyre best. It was around... It was around 18 or 20 laps where the tyre really started to fall away throughout free practice. The circuit around the same temperature today, 33 degrees on track, falling all the time with this little bit of cloud cover, so they'll be expecting a similar longevity to the tyre, perhaps even more, because the racetrack is slightly more rubbered in now than it was in the early stages of the weekend.
You can get the benefit of DRS here, so I guess it's a case of just managing your tyres through the rest of the lap and just making sure you're within that 1 second. Here we see Sebastian Montoya trying to pick up a place and get towards that top 8 where the points are being handed. Sebastian Montoya all over the back of Ollie Gerther.
One of the beneficiaries of the red flag in qualifying, said he lost out to the red flag in Jeddah, so feels entirely happy that he picked up positions as a result of the red flag yesterday. It was a really good lap for Montoya, who's looking down the outside of the Villeneuve chicane. Not enough overlap to be able to make the position on his way in.
Not quite able to get through. Pepe Marti in the Red Bull Junior, in the Red Bull livery, under pressure now from John Bennett as well. It is very congested in the field as they fire out of Tosa and make the climb uphill towards Piratella. Sebastian Montoya trying to go forwards, and there we see behind the likes of Villa Gomez. He's putting Max Esterson under pressure in the orange and black Van Amersfoort.
Martin Mini been noted for causing a collision on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, so we'll see it on the graphics and on the timing screens if anything comes of that. All relatively stable. Some drivers playing the waiting game throughout this phase. Miata able to just stick and now just creep back in to the DRS of Crawford. The team at Damps may well be on the phone to Crawford, just letting him know that that's playing out. So if there is management going on right at the front of the field, just to try and eke out that little bit more of a gap to not allow Miata to use the DRS to manage the tyre and still keep himself in the action and thus gain a march on the American towards the end of the race.
Someone who hasn't been waiting around is Joshua Dirksen. We saw the graphic to the left of who had been gaining and losing positions beside the drivers, and Josh Dirksen is up 6 places now in this race. There we see the gap between himself and Beganovic. He's probably wondering how on earth he's behind Joshua Dirksen. He's got Leo Fornaroli next up the road. So Joshua Dirksen, who got his first Formula 2 podium here last year, climbing himself up the order.
14th on the grid this time around for AIX, Joshua Dirksen. Very good start indeed, wasn't it, from Dirksen, sitting just behind that car on the airbox of Dino Beganovic as he plunges down towards Agua Minerale. And they really have to back out of it. Now, we'll be talking about straight line speed of the car ahead. And Beganovic then saying not able, perhaps bemoaning the inability to be able to make a move down that front straight. Really the only overtaking opportunity here, down towards Tamburello, unless the driver ahead of you makes a mistake. Miata has managed to get himself back inside the DRS. So a key moment here with Crawford being unable to escape from the two behind there. You can see the two DRS flaps open, so they're keeping themselves in the action. And in turn, Miata towing Lindblad up to the leader.
Yeah, it was very close, wasn't it? It was about 500ths away from Miata losing DRS, and that would become a critical point of the race because the gap has gone from 9/10 to 6/10 of a second, just like that. Had that not happened, he would be under huge pressure from this driver here, Arvid Lindblad.
About 3 or 4 tenths down the front straight. The last thing those two want to do is start fighting between themselves and lose ground to Crawford. Waiting game being played, sitting on board with Arvid Lindblad. Let's watch that right front through Piratella. See if he's just managing it. See how he's limiting the amount of steering he's putting into the car to try to keep the tyres underneath it. I was saying a few moments ago how much kickback there is through the steering wheel for these Formula 2 drivers as they bounce over the curbs down into Agua Minerale. Drivers working hard, suspension hardly working, it seems, on the way into that famous section of track.
Campos Racing, very relaxed. Their driver, Arvid Lindblad, in third. There could be an argument that they're quite pleased that Miata is probably staying within that DRS for now, and if they're going to play the long game in this race, they just want things to stay close as they are until we start to get deeper in the race.
It's a case of being unable to follow as well, even though they're not the fastest corners through that middle sector of the lap. Another time by lap 8 of 25. The DRS train running all the way back into the mid-teens here, and it was one of the closest qualifying sessions I've ever seen for the pole position spot in Formula 2. A little bit truncated by the red flag. Some drivers feeling they were on a better lap and they lost out, such is the nature of these sessions. That's why drivers do a banker lap in the early phases of qualifying, but a bit of a mixed up grid on a race weekend where it is tough to make the moves. A narrow track, a bumpy track, and you do stand to lose a nose or damage a little bit of suspension if you head down the inside of a driver who's not seen you here. Marty and Mini will be investigated after the race for that little bit of turn 1 contact, so that one will be one to keep your eyes across the socials for.
Yeah, understandable, given their position. I mean, we've had now 4 pole sitters in 4 races, 5 different winners in 5 races, and we've got our 2 championship leaders, 16th and 17th, and there is your championship leader right on cue on screen. I guess, is this showing just how competitive, unpredictable this Formula 2 season is turning out? I know we're only on race 1 of round 4, but there's no clear driver running away with this title in the early stages.
Different cars and teams certainly being able to perform at different rounds. I think Richard for sure will really chalk this one up as a weekend we just hasn't had the pace so far. Of course, there are pit stops to play with throughout the feature race, but wasn't there in practice, wasn't there in qualifying, and he's still not really able to charge through the field in the race despite having a decent start. So it's a shame for sure, and it's an opportunity for his competitors that he looks extremely unlikely to score today, and barring an excellent strategy in the feature race tomorrow, it's going to be difficult as well.
Part of a triple header, though, is that going to have a knock-on effect? If you have a bad round here, could it have a knock-on effect going into the likes of Monaco and Barcelona? Because they come very quickly.
Monaco's its own animal. Monaco's its own animal. Special for these Formula 2 drivers to be able to race there. So trust me, the bumps and curbs of Piratella will be forgotten when they're replaced with the walls and armcos of Tabac. And it's a special jewel in the crown of the series. Battle between the Red Bull Junior of Oleg Goethe and Kushmani, who brought out the red flag in qualifying, is what we're checking in on. These drivers just outside the points.
It is, and we ride on board with Kushmani now, who will feel a little bit disappointed. He's not sat on the front row today and battling with his teammate Jack Crawford, but he's recovering today. Kushmani just outside the top 10 and proved yesterday he's got the pace. Let's see if he can move forward in this one. Meanwhile, Joshua Dirksen is under threat, coming under threat a little bit more now in that silver high-tech. That is Ferrari-backed Dino Beganovic. This, you feel, is the closest he's been now for a while, and it's starting to look like Joshua Dirksen is just beginning to fall away from Leo Fornaroli. This could be a battle emerging here between these two.
Long run down there, not a huge opportunity for the Ferrari Junior, who will definitely have noticed the amount of red in the stands this weekend on his way in to the racetrack, on his way out of the racetrack. The support from the Tifosi here, as in Monza, is absolutely massive. Closest battle on the track, I think, for the key position is going to be Miata versus Lindblad. Crawford escaping ever so slightly. Lindblad's looked feisty. Brilliant start from him, up from 5th to run 3rd on the road in his Campos. He's escaped Browning, which will give him a little bit more focus forwards, and only half a second now can sit then in the dirty air of Miata as they clamber over the Variante Alta this time around, and that's the opportunity potentially for him. Back to the rear wing of Miney, looking back at Goethe, who was probably the biggest loser in the starting process. Started 3rd on the grid, dropped all the way down to 12th position in what was really an opportunity lost in the early laps.
Well, we go through the Hrvatsa section, and now Miata will not have DRS, so this is the opportunity. Arvid Lindblad is lining up the ART driver. Can he make his move in towards Tamburello? We go. It's going to be down the inside there from Arvid Lindblad. On the brakes, Miata is brave round the outside and just holds on, but now it's the run down to Vilna.
Oh, not quite the overlap for Arvid Lindblad. Miata manages to hold on to it around the outside, and Lindblad will now have to wait one lap more before the opportunity again. But the more they battle, the more Miata will slip it into reverse away from Jack Crawford, and the better the opportunity it's going to be for Lindblad. Looking again at this midfield battle over the rear wing of Miney, are we going to see a mistake for the Dams driver? Alpine Junior down to Agua Minerale. Not a huge one, but that could easily damage a tyre for later on in the race. Unloaded, inside front locks up, and Miney ever so slightly wide, but it is going to be that battle for second position on the road, which is going to be the thrilling one. John Bennett felt he lost out in qualifying. He's lost out again through the mid-corner of Hrvatsa with a big lock up there.
Yeah, having to learn this circuit this weekend, John Bennett. It's going to be a pattern for him throughout the season. Well, Miata, no DRS. Lindblad will feel he has to get this move done quickly, as Alex said, because that gap will just continue to grow otherwise. And Browning now begins to move closer as well. He's got the fastest lap in this race. Down to Tamburello we go. Is this going to be the moment we see the change for second happen? 4 tenths, a very close gap. Lindblad a little bit closer this time than he was last lap around. Are we going to see Arvid Lindblad move into second place here? He finds a gap on the inside, he goes down it, and that is going to be second place gained for Arvid Lindblad.
75% of a move last time round turns into 100% this time for Arvid Lindblad. Nothing Miata can do about that with side by side through Tamburello at the back end of the points. That's Sebastian Montoya we're looking at, but it's Goethe who went through on Miney.
Ollie Goethe with a great move there down the inside to go by Kush Miney, and Sebastian Montoya next to try and get through. So great overtaking from Ollie Goethe. He's gone well round here in the past. Lindblad now through up the road though, but the gap 2.1 seconds, so he's had to sacrifice 0.6 of a second to the leader in making that move. Next to try and make the move is the driver we're looking at, Williams back driver Luke Browning.
It is all in the move though, you can see it there in the first sector, the amount of time that Lindblad lost. So let's see what kind of pace he's got now. If he can home towards Crawford in the second phase of this race. It's going to be really interesting to see. Now Miata going to be under pressure from Luke Browning in the high-tech.
He's really beginning to struggle. Ritomo Miata, all the pace is just beginning to grow. It's possibly a mixture of both here as they come out of the final corner now, out of Hrvatsa 2 and down to Tamburello, and Luke Browning should go sailing by here. He's right on the back of Ritomo Miata. Luke Browning looking to get himself into the podium positions. He makes his way to the outside. On the brakes he goes to Ritomo Miata, but Miata with that DRS to Lindblad is just able to hold his position for now.
Hung on to it by 1,000th of a second as Montoya looks to the inside on Miney, who looks to be struggling slightly with the tyre. 1,000th of a second was a difference. Wow. To pick up the DRS from Miata, kept him out of trouble down towards turn 1, but if you look to the left of your screen on the interval, he's just dropped out of it, so it should be an easier move next time around for the Williams Junior in the high-tech, and Miata perhaps suffering a bit from having to run or trying to stay with Jack Crawford in the early laps of the race, burning up maybe a little bit too much tyre in doing so.
Dino Beganovic has been putting pressure on Joshua Dirksen for a long time, and now Dirksen has lost DRS to Fornaroli up the road. Alex Dunn has lost DRS and did so a few laps ago to the leading pack, if we can call it that, the chasing pack being led by Arvid Lindblad. So Alex Dunn under pressure from the likes of Fornaroli. Then this group, as Dino Beganovic runs wide and he's going to lose a place. Well, all his hard work becomes undone. He was looking like he was about to get a move done on Joshua Dirksen, and now he goes backwards, going back behind Roman Stanek.
Messy moment for tomorrow's pole sitter. Is that the beginning of the tyre starting to fall away from these cars? They were in the 30s to begin this race, and there we go then. This is the move. This is Browning making his way around the outside of Miata.
Luke Browning gets the move done on Ritomo Miata, and that is third place for the high-tech driver. Broke him down over the course of a few laps there, and Rotoma Miata eventually losing the DRS, and Luke Browning was able to execute that move around the outside and on the brakes to get himself into the podium places. However, another Williams driver is now going to be in the fight and looking for a podium place. His name is Victor Martins, and there he is as we look at him now as we make the climb to Piratella.
They're queuing up and taking a ticket now, and Victor Martins' ticket will say third place on it. Let's have a look what happened to Viganovic. This is the grubby moment through the exit of turn of the Variante Alta. Just gets himself a little bit too wide, picks up the throttle and drives it with pure understeer out onto the outside gravel, and losing the place then to Roman Stanek.
Yeah, real shame there for Dino Viganovic, but Roman Stanek now has the chance to fight for points. That's the last point available, which Joshua Dirksen currently has. Okay, down to Ravazza we go. We are looking at Victor Martins versus Rotoma Miata. They may be in different liveries, but they are the ART Grand Prix teammates. They're going to come round the corner now into Tamburello, and Rotoma Miata has lost DRS. Did he just hang on to it? I think he did, but Victor Martins is right behind him. Down to Tamburello we go. Are we going to see a move for Victor Martins this time? There he goes, down the inside now, and Victor Martins looking to get this move done, and he's done it. The Frenchman is up to 4th place.
Textbook brave stuff on the brakes from Martins. Miata very fair with him there. Thought he might hang on to it as a result of keeping the DRS to Browning ahead, but the overspeed for Victor Martins just too great, and Miata on the limit of falling, of looking like this is a slide through the field now, having taken the best out of those tyres early on. Dunn will be the next up and trying to pick up 5th position.
Great move from Victor Martins. He's up to 4th, but he's lost 1.1 seconds now to Browning. That's the gap he has to try and chase down. Dunn did say he's going to play the long game. Remember, he was 2 seconds back from this queue. All of a sudden, that gap is evaporating. He's only 8/10 back from these guys now. Is this a sign of that Dunn's patience paying off here? I think we're starting to see him come back into this fight for the podium.
Problem is, drivers in these long DRS trains get locked in to the performance of the cars around them. Let's have a look at what's going on between Montoya and the Alpine Junior. Have Miney as they head down towards Tamburello. It's the move then made by Montoya, who's back behind. No, he's not. He's made his way through on the GPS graphics. We need the timer screen to update. Montoya with that move done.
We need to up the pace a bit if we can, Luke.
Looking at the long game out front, Arvid Lindblad has just taken a couple of tenths out of Crawford last time around. That's why Browning is getting the hurry up. Browning with a 31.7. It was a 31.2 for Lindblad last time around, who caught Crawford by 2 tenths. It's not exactly bridging the gulf, is it? But it's a start in terms of making some kind of challenge for the lead of the race. Browning going to be under pressure from Victor Martins if he doesn't pick up the pace again.
Definitely, you can see why Browning and Martins, what you said there, Alex, just being, Browning in particular, is being given the hurry up. Someone who is in a hurry here is Alex Dunn. He's catching the back of Rotoma Miata. He said he wanted to play the long game in this race, and we're seeing that come off now. He's not alone either, is he? Look, he's got Fornaroli with him, he's got Dirksen with him, the hard charger, and Roman Stanek right behind as well. Dino Viganovic has lost more places in this race. He's now down to 11th. Ollie Goethe has gone by. Viganovic is falling away, and Goethe is moving forward. So the battle for the lower point scoring positions, and Dirksen has the last of them so far, but that was a mistake into Ravazza one.
Dirksen going to be under pressure from Stanek, who's generally moved forward. He got the Fornaroli's up the road. He's going to have to go the long way round here.
Down the outside he goes. Roman Stanek versus Joshua Dirksen. Who will emerge ahead? Great move there from Roman Stanek. Got his stop just in time. And on the brakes, Roman Stanek wins that fight ahead of Joshua Dirksen and gets himself into the points.
Into the sea of sunlight there, down in Tamburello. Lovely move, committed move, round the outside. Had to take to the marbles on the way down there that are accumulating offline down towards Tamburello. Watch that for the later laps. And also the feature race tomorrow. Another move in a very similar guise. This is Dino Beganovic coming under pressure from Ollie Goethe, who braves it out around the outside as well.
That's a great move from Ollie Goethe. So that is how he got by Dino Beganovic then, and Beganovic is now behind Montoya as well, so he's starting to fall backwards in this race, possibly a consequence of his moment where he ran wide out of here, Variante Alta. Alex Dunn next to try and get by Rotoma Miata. It's not worked out for him. He started this race from pole position, would have been hoping for a podium at least, but now he's in danger of dropping to 6th place.
Make the move if he possibly can. Miata's struggling big time. You can see the front tyre has fallen away from him, and look at the bands of damage around the surface of the tyre there. Perhaps graining them early on. See what Dunn could do about taking 5th position. Easy peasy down the inside.
Yeah, this should be fairly straightforward, shouldn't it? And there we go, uses DRS to get that one done. And Alex is up into P5 for Rodin Motorsport. Great driving from the Irishman there. Rotoma Miata, though, is possibly in danger of dropping out of the points here, because here come the two Invicta Racing drivers. Fornaroli, who has a great opportunity today with Pepe Marti and Richard Vishaw showing no signs of progress in 15th and 16th. He has the opportunity to take a dent out of their championship lead. Currently, he's in P7.
Tricky qualifying for Vishaw. Contact early for Marti. The Formula 3 champion, as you mentioned, with a great opportunity to move forward. We saw him jump immediately to form with a podium in the first race of the season, return to the podium again in Bahrain. Did Fornaroli, another set of points finishes in Jeddah, kept himself in the action, came into this weekend on 40 points, in 3rd place in the championship, and would drive himself up to 2nd in that championship as we stand, with still the big points to be given out tomorrow.
I think we need to keep pushing a bit. Crawford doesn't look to have more than us. I'll do my man.
Same lap for the two drivers last time around. Lindblad 31.6, and they're starting to move away from Browning, who in the top 3 looks like the driver under pressure this time around. Martins took a couple of tenths out of Browning, and look, he's only 3 tenths away from picking up the DRS.
The fastest of them all last time was Alex Dunn. So watch for him as well. He's just taken 3 tenths out of Victor Martin. He's got Ollie Goethe behind, who's climbing forward very well in the latter stages of this race. The two Invictas up the road in Fornaroli and Stanek, and this a 4-way fight for the last 2 point scoring positions.
Fornaroli needs to try to get himself within the DRS of Miata, who's falling back towards him if he possibly can. That'll keep him out of trouble from Stanek. There was a driver very wide out of Piratella there. I think that might have been Goethe, the Red Bull in the Red Bull liveried machine, still trying to make the move on Joshua Dirksen, who now in turn has just fallen out of DRS of Roman Stanek ahead. So that's going to be an interesting move potentially for Goethe, and it's going to be interesting to see if Fornaroli can keep himself out of trouble from his teammate by picking up DRS from Miata in P6 in the ART.
Well, last time he was 3 tenths quicker, so let's see if he can find that little bit of time through here. The gap is 1.3. No, he hasn't found it. So Stanek very close now. Look at the two yellow Invictas there, right together. Are we going to see a move done here for Roman Stanek down the start-finish straight? And Ollie Goethe has dropped back slightly from Joshua Dirksen.
He went massively too deep into Ravazza. Here we go then, the two Invictas are going at it because Fornaroli hasn't got the DRS down into turn 1, and Stanek sends it to the inside.
Roman Stanek with a big lunge down the inside of his teammate there, Leo Fornaroli, who had to get out of it, run a little bit wide to leave the space for Roman Stanek there. They would have took a deep breath at Invicta Racing as that one happened, but they emerged with Fornaroli in 7th and Stanek in 8th.
Neat and tidy racing between the two of them, but that now has dropped them a further couple of tenths behind Miata, who's stabilising a little bit, and every time they go side by side down towards T1, they bring Dirksen back into the action. Dirksen, though, with his own problems, was the driver who was off last time around in Piratella, but he still is under pressure from Goethe. This is how the tyre looks for Leonardo Fornaroli. His teammate behind Roman Stanek, look, with a bit more grip and purchase through the apex of the mid-corner of the Variante Alta there, and is able to put the F3 champion under pressure.
Joshua Dirksen Still under pressure here from Goethe. Fornaroli, can he try and bridge that gap to Rotoma Miata, which is what he needs to do. He's quicker than Miata. He just needs to try and get there to get that DRS. But once again, Roman Stanek just over half a second back as they come out of Rivazza 2. He's a little bit further back than he was last time, but can Roman Stanek close in as they get the DRS open down to Tamburello now?
Which Invicta will be victorious between the two of them. It's not going to be quite close enough this time around for Fornaroli. I wonder if the team have been on the phone there. Drivers between the two teams as we get very close, between Goethe and Dirksen down towards Tamburello. Drivers in Formula 2 racing entirely on their own merit. They are drivers bringing the budget, finding the funding either through their academies or their own efforts to come and demonstrate what they can do, stake their claim on the opportunity to race in Formula 1. They are not obligated in any way to move out of the way for a faster teammate, so it should be a wheel-to-wheel race to the flag between the two of them.
Well, we could have a battle for the last step on the podium. Browning is being caught.
You caught Browning 4 seconds in the first 2 sectors on that lap. His lap time 32.0, 31.9 for Martin, 31.5 for you. Yee.
Always like to keep the pace analysis celebratory, if you possibly can, between the team and Dunn, and they're absolutely right. Inside DRS of Victor Martins is Alex Dunn last time around.
Yeah, we got a battle for the last step on the podium, definitely incoming here. Victor Martins is right there, 1.3 back, and Alex Dunn now has DRS, as Alex said. So we've got 3 drivers trying to fight for that last position. Here we look at Sebastian Montoya, currently in P11, will go off the front row of the grid tomorrow, and it's round 3 between the two Invictas. Who's going to emerge ahead? Fornaroli on his home race, defending from Roman Stanek, who's been a winner around here before, and Fornaroli still holding on for the time being. Joshua Dirksen in 9th place, defending once more from Ollie Goethe.
Really holding him up now, though, isn't he, Dirksen? And frustration then slightly for Goethe, who's bringing Montoya into play in the background. 4/10 the gap. We've got a yellow flag out on track in sector 5, and we've had a reasonable sized off.
Yes, that is the road in motorsport car of Amaury Cordial. Had a 4th place finish in the sprint race here last year, and a really good drive in the feature race, but this one not ending so well. It looks like he's got that turn around and back going again, so that should keep us green in this race, which is good news as we ride on board with Alex Dunn trying to go for that podium position.
DRS enabled then back in zone 1. There's a lot of dirt there on the exit of Tamburello. Going to be interested to see how that plays out this time around, whether the leaders made it through without DRS enabled as a result of that yellow flag. Lindblad has honed right in on Crawford over the last couple of laps. This one is not over. 1.5 seconds the gap now for the lead, and the Campos driver took another 4/10 of a second out of Jack Crawford at the front of the field last time around.
Battle for the last step on the podium, battle for the lead as well in the closing stages of this race, as Alex Dunn has a look down the inside there of Victor Martins. Well, his team telling him that he's got the pace to do this, and he's demonstrating that now. Head down for the McLaren Junior. He's chasing after Williams back drivers in Luke Browning and Victor Martins. Alex Dunn just having a look at the inside of Martins that time, not quite able to do it, but he's telling him he's there and he's ready to make a move.
Committing to the pit lane just in case that was a stoppage was Richard Verschoor, and they've rolled him through the pit lane to continue, but it's not the day that Richard Verschoor he's retiring the car, isn't he? Retiring the car with a technical issue. I wondered if they were preempting some sort of stoppage there for Richard Verschoor. This is the moment for Cordial, who's found himself wide out of the last part of Tamburello. And nice evasive action there from the Trident machine. That's Esterson who was running behind him.
Yeah, just did well to get out of the way there. Cordial getting himself back moving again, and we stay green till the end, for now at least, as we head down towards Rivazza. This 3-way fight. Browning is doing a good job to keep a gap, but now Victor Martins has DRS and that will start to close the gap down. But Alex Dunn only half a second back from Victor Martins as we head down towards Tamburello. It's getting very close, and it's getting close out front as well. 1.2 between Crawford and Lindblad.
Martins clinging to the DRS. Browning the cork in the bottle of this little battle. Hasn't quite had the speed, and he's back Martins now towards Dunn, who's been lightning fast throughout this race so far. Lindblad, 1.2 seconds behind Crawford at the front of the field, is so close to grabbing DRS. There's been a move off camera between Goethe and Dirksen. Goethe's finally made the move past Goethe. Let's see what's going on with Roman Stanek, still trying to make his way past his teammate ahead. These two Invictus battling in the back end of the points, and Stanek they're just recovering from going a little bit wide then, and he's going to lose a decent amount of ground to Fornaroli.
Yeah, he's lost the DRS, but still is in 8th position. This race last season was decided on the last lap when Franco Colapinto went round the outside of Paul Aron. Are we going to get a last lap decider this time? Arvid Lindblad closing in. It's just 1.2 between them.
This is it, though. This is it. This is the DRS zone that Lindblad needed, and he's going to be just a little bit too far back if our intervals on the left-hand side are to be believed. Oh, to have one more lap for Arvid Lindblad. He's homed in on Crawford, but he's not quite homed in enough as we go into lap 25 of 25 of this sprint race.
It's a great defensive drive from Crawford at the same time. Lindblad has closed that gap down, but he just misses out on DRS. Someone who has it, though, is Alex Dunn in P5, and he is closing in on Victor Martins, but Martins has DRS himself to Luke Browning. Are we going to see any moves made in this battle? Alex Dunn looks like he has a good run out of Tamburello.
They'll rely on a mistake now, but a mistake is more than possible around this tricky, tight, bumpy racetrack. Tyres falling away from the cars. All you can do now, if you're the drivers with the pace, is try and keep the pressure on. If you're Lindblad, if you're Dunn, to try to make the mistake happen. This is a move a little bit further back. Montoya trying to make his way up the inside, and does so on Joshua Dirksen.
Great move there. Piratella, he goes through, and that is a change for P10. And it looks like Martins has just fell back from Luke Browning up ahead of him. Can Alex Dunn now pounce into the final few corners? Will there be a mistake from Victor Martins here? Can Alex Dunn take advantage of that as they head in towards Variante Alta for the final time in this race? It's been a great race of strategy. Drivers out there doing a great job to go on these soft tyres all the way to the end of the race, and now it comes down to Ravazza and the final corner. But out front, Jack Crawford may have just missed out at Jeddah last time, but this time he will go to the top step of the podium and take his first win of the 2025 season. Arvid Lindblad, a return to the podium once again, and Luke Browning adds to his podium finishes this season to continue a very impressive run for the high-tech driver. As we look back through the field, the points position still being handed out, and they will be ended with Fornaroli in 7th, Stanek in 8th. We had Martins in 4th, Alex Dunn in 5th. Ritoma Miata did take some points, having started on pole in P6. But it's Jack Crawford's day out front. He wins, having just held off a hard-charging Arvid Lindblad by a second. Luke Browning in 3rd.
Got it done at the start, Crawford, and then controlled the race beautifully out front. Even though those behind look to have lightning pace, he does just enough.
That's a good job, that's a good job. It's well done. Really good one. The job prize, top step of the podium. Go.
Well, he finds something extra through those last couple of laps, because they were quick behind. Lindblad had a little bit better car underneath him through those last couple of laps, but Crawford connected the apexes nicely when it mattered to just keep the Red Bull Junior on the end of the jab and just keep him out of the DRS that he needed to potentially make his way through. Contact between Kean Shields and John Bennett further back on the final lap will cost a whole front wing from the Dallara Spares truck after the race.
Jack Crawford, a great comeback for him. He was so disappointed to have missed out Jeddah in that last lap thriller with Richard Verschoor, who pulled off that great strategy to win in the feature race there. But what a way to bounce back from that immediately and get himself onto the top step.
Yeah.
That's a mega race. I think they did everything right today.
Very good pace, very good overtaking, positioning of the car. Yeah, thanks, mate. That was a really good race. Thank you, guys. The car was really good. We'll go again tomorrow. I think there's some bits to improve, but in general, really, really solid. So thank you, guys.
That was a great drive.
Yeah.
From the Campos driver, sorted it out at the start. Start was mega. Committed in the long run down to turn one from the inside lane where he was in P5 to the outside. Got the moves done.
Good job. P3, fastest lap. Yeah, boys. Very happy. Good job. Fastest lap as well.
A driver who managed to get the position in spite of not quite having the pace underneath him today, Luke Browning, but Lindblad really had a lot of speed through the end of that race, but got it done at the start, as is so often the case in Imola. Committed to the outside line and made it work, and then would it have been a couple more laps, maybe one, until he had the opportunity to potentially make a move on Crawford. So really impressed with all of the top three maximising what they had underneath them today, and also in terms of maximising what was a great opportunity for them in terms of the grid spot in the sprint race.
Someone who did very well out front and beat everyone to the line. Jack Crawford taking his first win of the 2025 season for Dams Lucas Oil, climbs out of the car. It's back-to-back podiums for the American, and onto the top step for the first time this season. A huge congratulations to him and to the team as well. He is well and truly in form in this part of the season now, and he'll look to keep that going as he climbs up the championship standings. That puts him 8th place now in the championship, with no doubt more points to come throughout the weekend. Arvid Lindblad, a great performance from him, given he never even turned a wheel in this car before this season.